when she walks through the door, a shadow that stretches across the stone floor. She carries the staff, she carries the sight, a piece of the morning in the heart of the night. Satan, 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 Satan.
The staff hits the wood where the kings used to stand. Fate is a needle in a trembling hand. You asked for the rune, you asked for the flame, but you're too weak to carry the weight of your name.
The thread is unweaving, the truth is bereaving, the vulva is spinning, the spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown. She sees the high hall, she sees it in ash, the glint of the gold, the sting of the lash. She speaks to the dead, she drinks from the well. There are secrets the living are too frightened to tell. The thread is unweaving, the truth is bereaving, vulva is spinning, the spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown. The thread is unweaving, the truth is bereaving, the vulva is spinning, the spirit and bone. The seeds of your ending have already been sown.
The weird is full. The weird is full.
Hello and good evening, my friends. Welcome back to another beautiful day in the tavern. I hope that you are all well. Make us a day when the audience makes a story up as we go along with you. Everyone throws an idea. How fun would that be? So we're not. That's an interesting idea, Berkey. What's interesting is that we're actually kind of doing something like that soonish. Hopefully soonish. I am working on a very long and intricate fantasy story where each one of the portals that we make stories on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, uh, TikTok, all of these different platforms will have a character. I am writing the story of the character, and then you guys decide which way the story goes for that character. So it's like a big game of D&D. Let's go ahead and get our hellos out of the way. Tyson, hello. Matty, hello. Frost, hello. Bear, hello. Aaron, hello. I saw Quirt come in. Hello, my friends. Hello, hello, hello. And of course, the lovely lady is in as well, as always. I don't think I missed anyone else. Matty on a 75 stream streak, and Bear on a 75 stream streak. Absolutely incredible friends. Glad you enjoyed. Crow, hello, welcome in, good to see you. Grab a seat and settle down. We are just about ready to dive back into Eragon. I can't believe we're already we're a little bit less than halfway through this book. And this is one of the bigger books that we've read. Not the biggest, obviously. I think the biggest is probably maybe Magician. It's either Magician or Lord of the Rings. Because I don't know if Magician in its two parts is bigger than Lord of the Rings or not. But they're definitely in competition. Cassie, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. Let me make sure I haven't missed anyone else. I saw that Berkey was in. Hello, my friend. And then Cassie is in as well. Alright. Just making sure that we've caught everyone. It's storming like crazy over here. Whereabouts in the universe are you, Berkey? Not Berkey, Crow. That it's storming about right now. Wes, hello! Wow, found you again. Greetings, innkeeper. Greetings to you as well. I'm glad that you found us again. We are always happy to see a familiar face coming right back on through. I am from Bipolar Coover. It's going to snow, just kidding, we'll cook you to death. Yeah, some parts of California are that way, where they will be cool, and then you can have a cool morning, and then it'll be 110 degrees in the afternoon. It hailed so much in Denver area yesterday that they had to get the plows and skip loaders out to clear the road. That's insane. Coast of Alabama near the Gulf Shores, it's been rainy every day for the past week. Well, when you live near the sea, you're gonna get more rain, and the Gulf especially gets a lot of humidity. But yeah, spring rain is nice. Storms when you're too close to the ocean can be a problem, but I enjoy that. Love the dual short story, by the way. Interesting, as I certainly never thought to put those two in a versus. I had been sent probably 200 reels or TikToks of people arguing one way or the other about whether or not Dumbledore or Gandalf would win in a fight. And it's a silly discussion. And it's fun to have those kinds of discussions. Like, sometimes they're worthwhile to have. But in the instance of Dumbledore versus Gandalf, it's not even really a competition. And I had some people drop in and they're like, well, technically, Middle Earth is Tolkien was saying that Arda is like an old ancient version of Earth, and yeah, to a degree, but it's sort of a different universe, right? It's a different universe, and the reality is that anywhere where Gandalf has access to even 10% of the power that he has, there's no way that Dumbledore wins that fight. Just period. And again, like, people talk about this all the time, and I was shocked to see how many people think that Dumbledore wins because of spells like Avada Kedavra, right? But it's also in the 90s, so the community. Oh, that does sound awful. Oh, Frostbite's around for the tavern. May the stories never end. I'll drink to that. Sláinte, my friend. If we're sharing our location, I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I've missed your stories, sir, and your woman's stories. Well, the lady's right across from me. She's managing, she's helping to tend the bar while I'm reading you all stories. I finally made it to my first stream. Stephen, welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Tonight is our family-friendly night for story times. We are reading from Eragon. We are about halfway through. We're waffling a bit before we get into it, though. Now, if Voldemort met Sauron, it's a 100% soulmate material right there. I don't think so, because the thing is that Sauron is obsessed with perfection in the same way that Voldemort is obsessed with control and perfection. So I think they would actually kill each other. If Sauron and Voldemort were in the same room for more than 10 minutes, they'd tear each other apart. And in that instance, though, Sauron would still win, because Sauron is the same manner of being that Gandalf is. You know, he's a Maiar, he's an angelic demigod-like figure. So they would absolutely not get along. I had a couple of people ask me if Dumbledore would win against Merlin as well. And again, this is one of those things where it's really not the same kind of story, because the magic in the Arthurian legends is not the same kind of magic that you get in like Harry Potter in modern fiction. It just doesn't work. Is this a blue dress? Yeah, I mean, people love to bicker online. I usually don't take part in it, but that one was pretty cut and dry. I felt like it's going to be hard for people to argue once I presented the case with the reality of it. Some people are still arguing with me, but that's fine. You know, you don't have to accept reality for reality to be real. I'm about 20 minutes from the coast of New South Wales. We're at 95% humidity last week. That's awful. We've been pretty warm and pretty high humidity. It was actually kind of cool today and gone. I saw that video, and the first thing that came to me was they would never consider it was worthy. That's the big thing, is that Dumbledore and Gandalf, like, Voldemort and Sauron definitely would fight. Like, those two definitely would fight. But I don't think Dumbledore and Gandalf would fight. I think that they would probably sit down and exchange riddles and have tea and conspire about how they could manipulate people into making better life choices. I think that that's more or less how it would go. So in 1 minute, 2 immortals will go, and now we fight to the death. Yeah, more or less. I love where I live, even if it's bipolar weather. I live in the outskirts of a town. That outskirts a slightly bigger town, and then we finally have the Gulf Shores and the sort. Yeah, Alabama is a beautiful state. I don't think Alabama gets enough credit for how pretty it is. I think that because economically it's one of the like lower economic prosperity states in the U.S. I think people overlook it, but Alabama is a beautiful state. Susan, thank you for the heart me over on TikTok. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you very much. Molly Sue, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. I mean, when you get closer to the cousin, what do you, Maddie, you're gonna need to explain. What is this? Oh, for Alabama. I get it. That's another thing that has always confused the heck out of me, is the American South gets a lot of heat for like kissing cousins and whatnot. We all, I don't know how much of that I can say without getting in trouble on TikTok, but the American South gets a whole lot of grief for that. But first of all, that was like super regular in human society up until like 100 years ago, but it was still very much practiced by royal families in the Middle East, in Africa, in Europe, and in Asia up until like 50 years ago. It's like the American South gets an unnecessary amount of grief for that particular subject when up until like 40, 50 years ago, it was still super common just about everywhere else in the world and was super normal like 120 years ago. Yeah, like the royals, especially, like aristocracies, nobility did it and still do to a degree do it. Which is crazy. The American South and Tasmania. Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's so common everywhere. I don't know how the American South got so much grief. Like, why the American South takes the brunt of that accusation, especially because it happens everywhere. Oh. But yes, but I get to stay to the end. Yeah, very good. There's an element lost. Hang on. There's an element lost in modern writing that Tolkien and Jordan had. I agree with that, Wes. I think that there is an element of depth that gets lost in a lot of modern writing for sake of brevity. A lot of modern writing is very brief. It's like let's have a lot of action points and get to the action very quickly. Songbird, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. Joker, good to see you as well, my friend. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope your weekend was good. Let's see. You should appear at Dragon Con 2026 in Atlanta and sign autographs. When is Dragon Con? I don't know if the lady and I would be able to make it in 2026 unless somehow we got an invite. The Americans, I already read that. The Habsburgs, great example. I want a selfie with you and to shoot the bull. If there is ever an event that wants us to come, the lady and I would definitely be willing to go. The Emperor moved. Which Emperor moved? Santano. To where? Queen Victoria was known as the Mother of Europe. Well, hopefully not strictly by relation, but yes. Yeah, I've been to Dragon Con a couple of times years ago. My brother and I used to go to shows and work them. I haven't been in ages, though. I will fight for my land, but only this very specific vicinity. The rest of Alabama can fend for itself. Esther, hello. Hi, Castle. We hope you're faring well. I am faring well. Thank you very much. I'm getting caught up on chat, so I might be a little bit behind. I know that's right. The royal family is married. Yes, they do. Yeah. Did anyone catch the Warhammer trailer? I have not seen a Warhammer trailer. Colton Rocket, big fan. Keep doing what you're doing until my last breath, my friend. I'm glad that you enjoy. It's absolutely wonderful to have. Wonderful to have you. I got cut off because I started reading again. I'm surprised you see me. I don't think I do see you, Esther. I was just behind in the chat. I was up in there. Songbird, thank you for the heart meme, the Go Populars, and the thumbs up, and the lives, and the shard of hope, and the You're Awesomes, and the TikTok, and the oranges, cherries, and summer sun. Thank you very much. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Chris Bonnet, hello and welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Being a ghost, we don't exist, and it's not that ghosts don't exist, that they're ethereal. So you exist, but you're ethereal. It's hard to catch you. The light has to catch you just right for us to see you. Royal family trees, it's more of a wreath. It's more of a measuring stick, actually. And a partridge in a pear tree. No kidding. I appreciate you very much, Songbird. September, you must apply. I mean, yeah, I'll go on and apply, Berkey. That's all the way on the other side of the country for us, so I don't know if we would have time to plan before September. But I'll tell you what, I will give it a go, and I will see if there's any way that it could happen. And if it does, then we'll give it a go. The lady and I were considering next year, after our book comes out, doing a select location book tour. And I say book tour, but it's not like there's going to be millions of these books sold. It's probably going to be a few hundred sold to the people in the tavern. But coming around and meeting tavern folk, and having books and whatnot. Yeah, we'll run ads over on Twitch here in just a second, Bear. I'll let them run out. Yes, I get it, Castle. I think I stuffed up what I said. No, you're all right. You're all right, Esther. Queen Vic was related to most of Europe's royal houses. And again, there were a lot of royals that was true for. I don't know off the top of my head how many like how much more that was true for Queen Victoria, but I'll take your word for it, Bear. I can create an event castle. Hint, hint. Hint, hint. Wait, what do you mean? Kayla, how are you? I hope you're feeling well. I mean, you already take my money. Well, in exchange for work. Or more accurately, I throw money at Udus, but still, yes. I'm really looking forward to the release. I am too. It's taken so long to really get things done because we make so many stories. Like the lady and I put out so many videos. It's hard to work out anything and keep up with all of the messages and comments, and also keep putting videos out. So it's been a hard balancing act, but we're finally getting to it at some point. Oh, to get you to come and visit. Oh, I see. I mean, if we do it, we might have to just like go to Australia, just because we have so many tavern patrons that are. They would have to be the continental United States, maybe one town in Canada, and then Australia. I don't know how we would get the funds for that, but if it were possible, we would. Joker, you live in Pennsylvania? I just drove through Pennsylvania a couple months ago. I don't know. I don't know, Matty. It would have to be. It's been a long day of driving around doctor's appointments. 7 today. Wow. You both need a secretary now. It's the lady and literally everything that happens in the tavern, the lady and I do it ourselves. Like we don't make a whole lot off of what we do, and we've chosen to keep it that way so that we can, not have any sort of oversight. Because when you take sponsors or anything like that, you kind of are beholden to them. Whoa, where'd that come from? 2 anonymous gifted subs to PW James and Deadshot Mercs. Thank you, whoever gifted those subs. I appreciate you. Yeah, I do know that the things are very expensive in Australia. It's expensive to ship things there, and it's expensive to travel there as well. So, but any which way, if we have the money to do the tour, then we'll make sure we go wherever tavern folk are. That's just how it will be. Whoever gifted the anonymous subs, I appreciate you for that. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated, and enjoy your Stormbringer lair there. Okay, we're gonna run ads real quick for our friends over on Twitch. It'll be 3 minutes, and then we'll get an hour without them, and then we will be back as soon as they're done, and we'll get started in Eragon, my friends. Accommodation is free. I couldn't put you out like that, Bear. I appreciate you. I would feel so bad putting any of you out if we did travel like that for the book. Emerald! Slanchers Tancha, good to see you. I hope that you're doing well. Yeah, well, and that's kind of what the lady and I are. Like, we if we're going to do a thing, we like. It's one of the reasons why we haven't really traveled much in the last, 5 years, is because we've been working on building the tavern, and it's expensive to do what we do, and all of the money that we make, all of the funds that we raise, everything goes right back into making stuff for the tavern and growing it, and it's only just been this last year that we've really been able to start monetizing, but we're doing it slowly. Yeah, it was very generous. Butterbeer time, Darth Nexus. Hello, my friend. Welcome in. I have a 7-day mostly by phone. Phone doctor's appointments are worse than in-person doctor appointments. Because it's when I'm home, if I have to be on the phone on hold, I try to do other things, but it's I have not been able to find the Discord, sadly. Well, give me just a moment, and I shall remedy that. Okay. For anyone who's interested in joining the Tavern Guild, it is there. And I'll put this out over on TikTok as well. TikTok, you'll have to copy and paste that, because it won't work anywhere else. But if you're not in the Tavern Guild, that is where the community is. Castle, I would be insulted if you didn't stay with me. I have a big house. Alright, if you absolutely insist, Bear, we will discuss it. Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Since we were stuck in an ad, I had my hands free. I didn't have to do anything. I don't have to force all the work on you guys all the time. Lovely. Yeah. Bear insists that if we do a book tour and come to Australia, we have to stay with him. Seems like it's not up for discussion, which sounds more like kidnapping than hospitality, but they can be the same thing. I don't think that they don't always have to be different. Kidnapping lovingly is fine, I think. If, somebody's gonna clip that out of context. Like, if you love somebody and you kidnap them, it's fine. Unfortunately, we don't have spare bedrooms, even though we're living in a big house. All the cats have taken up the bedroom, which is fair enough. Cats require a lot of attention. They really do. You and Una can kidnap me, just adopt you, add you to our collection of misfits. With the goblin and the cats and all of that. Alright, Emerald, either I or the lady will approve it afterwards. We have the bot filters and stuff on, so everything has to go through and be approved. Because there's so many, just things that try to invade servers these days. You have to be careful, because Discord does very little in way of making sure that scammers and stuff don't get into people's servers. That reminds me, I still need to do the pruning of our server, which I'll probably do this week. So, if you are in the guild server, the Discord, make sure you've interacted with something in the last 2 months, so that when I prune, you don't get booted out. Alright, friends. Well, I think that your ads are done. Castle, if you stay at Bear's place, feel free to leave your pets with me. They can enjoy some playtime with my pets, and I'll take good care of them. I will consider it. I don't know if we would want to fly all of them all the way out to Australia. We would probably have to leave them here. But if the opportunity presents itself, I'll be sure to bring them to have fun. Coda is so neurotic that he'd probably just hide in a carrier and not want to do anything else. I'm getting on my new tablet, having to look for some things. Really need to be where I'm used to them being. Understandable. It's a 16-hour flight, LA to Melbourne. Yeah, I don't know that the Elsie will keep Coda. I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will. Yeah, I don't know that the animals would be able to survive. They do all right on the 8 hour car ride to the lady's grandparents' house, but that's only with several 15 to 30 minute stops in between, so they can go to the bathroom and stretch and whatnot. So we'll have to see what means are available to us. All right, my friends, let us tapping the Boost Castle to their fight. Thank you, Songbird. I appreciate you for that. For everyone who likes and shares any of the story times that we do, that is deeply appreciated. But for now, let us return to the realm of Alagasia with our hero, Eragon, and his teacher Brom, and his dragon, Saphira. So everyone, grab your seats, settle in. It is story time. Vision of perfection. Eragon twisted under the blanket, reluctant to open his eyes. He dozed, then a fuzzy thought entered his mind. How did I get here? Confused, he pulled the blankets tighter and felt something hard on his right arm. He tried to move his wrist and it zinged with pain. The Argos! He bolted upright. He lay in a small clearing that was empty save a small campfire, heating a stew-filled pot. A squirrel chattered on a branch. His bow and quiver rested alongside the blankets. Attempting to stand made him grimace, as his muscles were feeble and sore. There was a heavy splint on his bruised right arm. Where is everyone? He wondered forlornly. He tried to call to Saphira, but to his alarm could not feel her. Ravenous hunger gripped him, so he ate the stew. Still hungry, he looked for the saddlebags, hoping to find a chunk of bread. Neither the saddlebags nor the horses were in the clearing. I'm sure there's a good reason for this, he thought, suppressing a surge of uneasiness. He wandered about the clearing, then returned to his blankets and rolled them up. Without anything better to do, he sat against the tree and watched the clouds overhead. Hours passed, but Brom and Saphira did not show up. I hope nothing's wrong. As the afternoon dragged on, Eragon grew bored and started to explore the surrounding forest. He became tired. He rested. When he became tired, he rested under a fir tree that leaned against a boulder and with a bowl-shaped depression filled with clear dew water. Eragon stared at the water and thought about Brom's instructions for scrying. Maybe I can see where Saphira is. Brom said that scrying takes a lot of energy, but I'm stronger than he is. He breathed deeply and closed his eyes. In his mind, he formed a picture of Saphira, making it as lifelike as possible. It was more demanding than he expected. And then he said, Dreymar, Kopa, and gazed at the water. The surface became completely flat, frozen by an invisible force. The reflections disappeared and the water became clear. On it shivered an image of Saphira. Her surroundings were pure white, but Eragon could see that she was flying. Brom sat on her back, beard streaming, sword on his knees. Eragon tiredly let the image fade. At least they're safe. He gave himself a few minutes to recuperate, then leaned back over the water. Rorin, how are you? In his mind, he saw his cousin clearly. Impulsively, he drew upon the magic and uttered the words. The water grew still, and then the image formed on its surface. Rorin appeared, sitting in an invisible chair. Like Saphira, his surroundings were white. There were new lines on Rorin's face. He looked more like Garo than ever before. Eragon held the image in place as long as he could. Is Roran in Theron's fort? You certainly know where I've been. The strain of using magic had brought beads of sweat to his forehead. He sighed and for a long time was content to just sit. Then an absurd notion struck him. What if I tried scrying something I created with my imagination, or saw in a dream? He smiled. Perhaps I'd be shown what my own consciousness looks like. It was too tempting an idea to pass. He knelt by the water once again. What shall I look for? He considered a few things, but discarded them all when he remembered his dream about a woman in the cell. After fixing the scene in his mind, he spoke the words and watched the water intently. He waited, but nothing happened. Disappointed, he was about to release the magic when inky blackness swirled across the water, covering the surface. The image of a lone candle flickered in the darkness, brightening to illuminate a stone cell. The woman from his dream was curled up on a cot in one corner. She lifted her head, dark hair falling back, and stared directly at Eragon. He froze, the force of her gaze keeping him in place. Chills ran up his spine as their eyes locked. Then the woman trembled and collapsed limply. The water cleared. Eragon rocked back on his heels, gasping. This can't be. She shouldn't be real. I only dreamed about her. How could she know I was looking at her? And how could I have scryed into the dungeon I've never seen? He shook his head, wondering if any of his other dreams had been visions. The rhythmic thump of Saphira's wings interrupted his thoughts. He hurried back to the clearing, arriving just as Saphira landed. Brom was on her back, as Eragon had seen, but his sword was now bloody. Brom's face was contorted, with edges of his beard were stained red. What happened? Asked Eragon, afraid that he had been wounded. What happened? Roared the old man. I've been trying to clean up your mess. He slashed the air with the sword, flinging drops of blood along its arc. Do you know what you did with that little trick of yours? Do you? I stopped the Urgles from catching you, said Eragon, a pit forming in his stomach. Yes, growled Brom, but that piece of magic nearly killed you. You've been sleeping for 2 days. There were 12 Urgles. 12! But that didn't stop you from trying to throw them all the way to Team. Now did it? What were you thinking? Sending a rock through each of their heads would have been the smart thing to do. But no, you had to knock them unconscious, so they could run away later. Spent the last 2 days tracking them down. Even with Saphira, 3 escaped. I didn't want to kill them, said Eragon, feeling very small. It wasn't a problem in Yazuak. There was no choice then. I couldn't control the magic. This time, it just seemed extreme. Extreme! Cried Brom. It's not extreme when they wouldn't show you the same mercy. And why, oh why, did you show yourself to them? You said that they'd found Saphira's footprints. It didn't make any difference if they saw me, said Eragon defensively. Brom stabbed his sword into the dirt and snapped. I said they had probably found her tracks. We didn't know for certain. They might have believed that they were chasing stray travelers. But why would they think that now? After all, you landed right in front of them. And since you let them live, they're scrambling around the countryside with all sorts of fantastic tales. This might even get back to the Empire. He threw his hands up. You don't even deserve to be called a rider after this boy. Brom yanked his sword out of the ground and stomped to the fire. He took a rag from inside his robes and angrily began to clean the blade. Eragon was stunned. He tried to ask Saphira for advice, but all she would say is, "Speak with Brom." Hesitantly, Eragon made his way to the fire and asked, Would it help if I said I was sorry?" Brom sighed and sheathed his sword. "No, it wouldn't. Your feelings can't change what happened." He jabbed his finger at Eragon's chest. "You made some very bad choices that could have had dangerous repercussions. Not the least of which is that you almost died. Died, Eragon! From now on, you're going to have to think. There's a reason why we're born with brains in our heads, not rocks." Eragon nodded, abashed. "It's not as bad as you think, though. The Urgles already knew about me. They had orders to capture me." Astonishment widened Brom's eyes. He stuck his unlit pipe into his mouth. "No, it's not as bad as I thought. It's worse. Saphira told me you had talked with the Urgles, but she didn't mention this." The words tumbled out of Eragon's mouth as he quickly described the confrontation. "So they have some sort of leader, eh?" questioned Brom. Eragon nodded. "And you just defied his wishes and insulted him, attacked his men?" Brom shook his head. "I didn't think it could get any worse. If the Urgles had been killed, your rudeness would have gone unnoticed. But now it'll be impossible to ignore. Congratulations. You just made enemies with one of the most powerful beings in Allegasia." "All right, I made a mistake," said Eragon sullenly. "Yes, you did," agreed Brom, eyes flashing. "What has me worried, though, is who this Urgle leader is." Shivering, Eragon asked softly, What happens now?" There was an uncomfortable pause. "Your arm is going to take at least a couple of weeks to heal. That time would be well spent forging you some sense. Suppose this is partially my fault. I've been teaching you how to do things, but not whether you should. Takes discretion, something you obviously lack. All the magic in Allegasia won't help you if you don't know how to use it right." "But we're still going to Drosleonia, right?" asked Eragon. Brom rolled his eyes. "Yes, we can keep looking for the Razak. But even if we find them, it won't do any good until you've healed." He began unsaddling Saphira. "Are you well enough to ride?" I think so." "Good. We can still cover a few miles today." "Where are Caddock and Snowfire?" Brom pointed off to the side. "Over there a ways. Picketed them off where there was grass." Eragon prepared to leave, and then followed Brom to the horses. Saphira said pointedly, "If you had explained what you're planning to do, none of this would have happened. I would have told you. It was a bad idea not to kill the Urgles. I only agreed to do what you asked, because I assumed it was halfway reasonable." "I don't want to talk about it." "As you wish," she sniffed. As they rode, every bump and dip in the trail made Eragon grit his teeth with discomfort. If he had been alone, he would have stopped. With Brom there, he dared not complain. Also, Brom started drilling him with difficult scenarios involving Urgles, magic, and Saphira. The imagined fights were many and varied, sometimes a shade or the dragons were included. Eragon discovered that it was possible to torture his body and mind at the same time. He got most of the questions wrong and became increasingly frustrated. When they stopped for the night, Brom grumbled shortly. "It was a start," and Eragon knew that he was disappointed. And so ends chapter, I think, 27 of Eragon. And now we are already on to the next. I think we should be fine. I think just straight into the next chapter. Should be. Quarantine for the dogs from USA to Australia is 10 to 30 days. Good lord. Well, and Coda is so stinky, they might think he's some sort of disease as it is. All right. Thank you for the posture check, Frost. I'll take that stretch. All right. Now we're on to, I believe, chapter 28. Master of the Blade. The next day was easier on both of them. Eragon felt better and was able to answer more of Brom's questions correctly. After an especially difficult exercise, Eragon mentioned his scrying of the woman. Brom pulled on his beard. You say she was imprisoned? Yes. Did you see her face? Asked Brom intently. Not very clearly. The lighting was bad. Yet I could tell that she was beautiful. It was strange. I didn't have any problem seeing her eyes. And she did look at me. Brom shook his head. As far as I know, it's impossible for anyone to know if they're being scryed upon. Do you know who she might be? Eragon asked, surprised by the eagerness in his own voice. Not really, admitted Brom. If pressed, I suppose I could come up with a few guesses, but none of them would be very likely. This dream of yours is peculiar. Somehow you managed to scry in your sleep, something that you'd never seen before, without saying the words of power. Dreams do occasionally touch the spirit realm. This is different. Perhaps to understand this, we should search every prison and dungeon until we find the woman, bantered Eragon. He actually thought it would be a good idea, but Brom laughed and rode on. Brom's strict training filled nearly every hour as the days slowly blended into weeks. Because of his sprint, Eragon was forced to use his left hand whenever they sparred. Before long, he could duel as well with his left hand as he had with his right. By the time they crossed the spine and came to the plains, spring had crept over Allegasia, summoning a multitude of flowers. The bare, deciduous trees were russet with buds, while the new blades of grass began to push up between last year's dead stalks. Birds returned from their winter absence to mate and build nests. The travelers followed the Torark Road, southeast, the Torark River southeast, along the edge of the spine. It grew steadily as tributaries flowed into it from every side, feeding its bulging girth. When the river was over a league wide, Brom pointed at a silt island that dotted the water. We're close to Leona Lake now, he said. It's only about 2 leagues away. Do you think we can get there before nightfall? Asked Eragon. We can try. Dusk soon made the trail hard to follow, but the sound of the river at the side guided them. When the moon rose, the bright disk provided enough light to see what lay ahead. Leona Lake looked like a thin sheet of silver beaten over the land. The water was so calm and smooth, it did not even seem to be liquid. Aside from a bright strip of moonlight reflecting off the surface, it was indistinguishable from the ground. Saphira was on the rocky shore, fanning her wings to dry them. Eragon greeted her, and she said, The water is deep, cool and clear. It is lovely. Maybe I'll go for a swim tomorrow, he responded. They set up camp under the stand of trees and were soon asleep. At dawn, Eragon eagerly rushed out to see the lake in the daylight. A white-capped expanse of water rippled with fan-shaped patterns where the wind brushed it. The pure size of it delighted him. He whooped and ran to the water. Saphira, where are you? Let's have some fun. The moment Eragon climbed onto her, she jumped out over the water, soared upwards, circling over the lake, but even at that height, the opposing shore was not visible. Would you like to take a bath? Eragon casually asked Saphira. She grinned wolfishly. Hold on. She locked her wings and sank into the waves, clipping the crest with her claws. The water sparkled in the sunlight as they sailed over it. Eragon whooped again. Then Saphira folded her wings and dived into the lake, her head and her neck entering it like a lance. The water hit Eragon like an icy wall, knocking out his breath and almost tearing him off of Saphira. He held on tightly as she swam to the surface. With 3 strokes of her feet, they breached it and sent a burst of shimmering water into the sky. Eragon gasped and shook his hair as Saphira slithered across the lake, using her tail as a rudder. Ready? Eragon nodded and took a deep breath, tightening his arms. This time they slid gently under the water. They could see for yards through the unclouded liquid. Saphira twisted and turned in fantastic shapes, slipping through the water like an eel. Eragon felt as if he were riding a sea serpent of legend. But as his lungs started to cry for air, Saphira arched her back and pointed her head upward. An explosion of droplets haloed as she leapt into the air, wings snapping open. With 2 powerful flaps, she gained altitude again. Wow, that was just fantastic, exclaimed Eragon. Yes, said Saphira happily. Though it's a pity you can't hold your breath for longer. Nothing I can do about that, he said, pressing water out of his hair. His clothes were drenched, and the wind from Saphira's wings chilled him. He pulled at his splint. His wrist itched. Once Eragon was dry, he and Brom saddled the horses and started around Leona Lake in high spirits while Saphira playfully dived in and out of the water. Before dinner, Eragon blocked Zadok's edge in preparation for their usual sparring. Neither he nor Brom moved as they waited for the other's first strike. Eragon inspected their surroundings for anything that might give him an advantage. A stick near the fire caught his attention. Eragon swooped down and grabbed the stick and hurled it at Brom. The splint got in the way, though, and Brom easily sidestepped the piece of wood. The old man rushed forward, swinging his sword. Eragon ducked just as the blade whistled over his head. He growled and tackled Brom ferociously. They pitched on the ground, each struggling to stay on top. Eragon rolled to the side and swept Zadok over the ground at Brom's shins. Brom parried the blow with the hilt of his sword, then jumped to his feet. Twisting as he stood, Eragon attacked again, guiding Zadok through a complex pattern. Sparks danced from their blades as they struck again and again. Brom blocked each blow, his face tight with concentration, but Eragon could tell that he was tiring. The relentless hammering continued as each sought an opening in the other's defenses. Then Eragon felt the battle change. Blow by blow he gained advantage. Brom's parries slowed and he lost ground. Eragon easily blocked a stab from Brom, veins pulsing in the old man's forehead and cords bulged in his neck from the effort. Suddenly confident, Eragon swung Zadok faster than ever, weaving a web of steel around Brom's sword. With a burst of speed, he smashed through the flat of his blade against Brom's guard and knocked the sword to the ground. Before Brom could react, Eragon flicked Zadok up to his throat. They stood panting, the red, swollen tip of Brom's collarbone. Eragon slowly lowered his arm and backed away. It was the first time he had bested Brom without resorting to trickery. Brom picked up his sword and sheathed it. Still breathing hard, he said, "We're done for today." "But we just started," said Eragon, startled. Brom shook his head. "I can teach you nothing more with a sword. For all the fighters I've met, only 3 of them could have defeated me like that. And I doubt any of them could have done it with their left hand." He smiled ruefully. "I may not be as young as I used to be, but I can tell that you're a talented and rare swordsman." "Does this mean we're not going to spar every night?" Eragon asked. "Oh, you're not getting out of it," laughed Brom. "But we'll go easier now. It's not as important if we miss a night here or there." He wiped his brow. "Just remember, if you ever have the misfortune to fight an elf, trained or not, female or male, expect to lose. They, along with dragons and other creatures of magic, are many times stronger than nature intended. Even the weakest elf could easily overpower you. The same goes for the Razak. They are not human, and tire much more slowly than we do." "Is there any way to become their equal?" asked Eragon. He sat cross-legged by Saphira. "You fought well," she said, and he smiled. Brom seated himself with a shrug. "There are a few, but none are available to you now. Magic will let you defeat all but the strongest enemies. For those you will need Saphira's help, plus a great deal of luck. Remember, when creatures of magic actually use magic, they can accomplish things that could kill a human because of their enhanced abilities." "How do you fight with magic?" asked Eragon. "What do you mean?" "Well," he said, leaning on an elbow, "suppose I was attacked by a shade. How can I block his magic? Most spells take place instantaneously, which makes it impossible to react in time. And even if I could, how would I nullify an enemy's magic? It seems I would have to know my opponent's intentions before he acted." He paused. "I just don't see how it can be done. Whoever attacked first would win." Brom sighed. "What you're talking about, a wizard's duel, if you will, is extremely dangerous. Haven't you ever wondered how Galbatorix was able to defeat all the riders with the help of only a dozen or so traitors?" "I've never thought about it," acknowledged Eragon. "There are several ways. Some you'll learn about later. But the main one is that Galbatorix was, and still is, a master of breaking into people's minds. You see, in a wizard's duel, there are strict rules that each side must observe, or else both contestants will die. To begin with, no one uses magic until one of the participants gains access to the other's mind." Saphira curled her tail comfortably around Eragon and asked, "Why wait? By the time an enemy realizes that you've attacked, it'll be too late for him to act." Eragon repeated the question out loud. Brom shook his head. "No, it won't. If I were to suddenly use my power against you, Eragon, you would surely die. But in the brief moment before you were destroyed, there would be time for a counterattack. And therefore, unless one combatant has a death wish, neither side attacks till one of them has breached the other's defenses." "Then what happens?" Eragon inquired. Brom shrugged and said, "Once you're inside your enemy's mind,
It's easy enough to anticipate what he'll do and prevent it. Even with that advantage, it is still possible to lose if you don't know how to counteract spells.
He filled and lit his pipe.
And that requires extraordinarily quick thinking. Before you can defend yourself, you have to understand the exact nature of the forces directed at you. If you're being attacked with heat, you have to know whether it is being conveyed to you through air, fire, light, or some other medium. Only once that is known can you combat the magic by, for instance, chilling the heated material.
It sounds difficult.
Extremely,
confirmed Braun. A plume of smoke rose from his pipe.
Seldom can people survive such a duel for more than a few seconds. The enormous amount of effort and skill required condemns anyone without proper training to a quick death. Once you've progressed, start teaching you the necessary methods. In the meantime, if you ever find yourself facing a wizard's duel, I suggest you run away as fast as you can.
And so ends chapter 28. Unstable H, I haven't seen your live stream since 2024. That's quite a long time. Twisted, thank you for the rose. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. That is quite some time. TikTok has not been kind to us as far as letting us reach folks at the tavern. But I'm glad that you're back, Unstable. It's good to see you. Good night, Cassie. Rest well. I'm sorry if I missed you. Also, just a second. Uncle Scooby, good to see you. And Katie, good to see you. Welcome in. Oh, DM Towsy presents. Well, I apologize for missing the rating. Did we get a shout out? Ice Tray, hello, welcome in. And let's see, what is it? DM Towsy presents. We'll just call you Towsy if you don't mind. Welcome in. So very glad you could join us. We are smashing through this book, absolutely. Look at that. We are now officially halfway through. DM as in D&D. Oh, very interesting. I used to be in your live every time I saw it. I do remember you. It has been a long time. But I do remember you being in. Yeah, there was about a couple of months where we didn't do lives on TikTok because they booted us off essentially. And now, but since then we've had about 3 story times a week, just about every week. We do Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and we do a family story time. So that's what today is. This is a more family friendly night where the book is not necessarily child friendly, but more family friendly. You can sit down and watch it with your family. And then on Thursday we have a more adult book. It's got more adult themes. I try not to read anything too spicy, but we read something that's got a little bit more adult themality to it. But yeah, TikTok for the last 2 years has really just not shown our live story times or our videos to really anybody that follows us. I get messages all the time of people asking why we don't make stories anymore, and we still do. Just sort of is what it is. If you want to make sure that you catch everything, Unstable, the best place to catch the story times is on Twitch. Though it's the most likely place to get a notification. But I think you can also turn on notifications for when we upload as well as when we go live um, over on TikTok. But if you don't, then there are a bunch of other I put up pretty much the same stuff on every platform. So I don't know if you watch any of the story times we put out, if you watch any of the videos, but if you want to be able to make sure you catch all of those. I've been looking for your lives every Sunday, and I actually had to refollow you yesterday. Yeah, I had a bunch of people message me that too, that they had been unfollowed from us. TikTok's been weird. TikTok has been weird. Yes, as a matter of fact, there's a portal open to the tavern right now on YouTube. Black Dragon Tavern. Should be able to find it. So no better time to go search than now. Jaeger, hello. We are a small crew tonight. Yeah, small but rowdy. Cheers, friend. I appreciate that. And I hope you'll enjoy the other story times as well. We put out a short story just about every day, and then we do long history and myth and folklore and storytelling story times about every other week right now. And then of course we do the live story times 3 times a week. Yeah, being in the guild, being in the Discord also helps a lot. Because then you have direct access to everybody who also is keeping up with what's going on in the tavern, so they can pretty much always have answers. Have you ever heard of Idaho water babies? I cannot say that I have. TikTok is bollocks. They have been for a while. I still love TikTok. I'm never going to abandon TikTok because the tavern started on TikTok. I have a sense of nostalgia for TikTok. My first TikTok account I made through like dark, sort of demented humor and pranking my brother, because my brother hated TikTok and Musically, so I made it a 2-year-long prank to make him famous on TikTok, and we got something like, I don't know, it's like 200 or 300 million views, just making my brother famous on TikTok. Jesus days, the Jesus days, yes. Well, what's funny is that a lot of people will call me Jesus, but that was my brother's account. So the real Slim Jesus was my brother's account, and I just still had access to it. And when I started posting on there for fun, it was it was a thing. And actually, my brother might be taking that account back over sometime in the next month or so, because it was supposed to go back to him after I finished my whole run on him of like pranking him and making fun of him on TikTok. So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I will never abandon TikTok, because TikTok more or less helped to revive the tavern and bring people in. There is a Discord, Unstable. That's it right there. If you can't copy and paste that, I can just send you a message. I don't know if it'll let me do that. Let me see if it'll let me send you a message. Yes, it will. Okay. Send it to you in a message as well. That way you'll have it. Castle, I owe Johnny everything. Without him, I might never have known about you. Thanks to him, we're here. It is a funny and sort of interesting chain of things. Excellent, Unstable. The applications are filtered, so you'll have to wait for somebody to approve it. But once it's approved, you'll be in. Yeah, I do remember the days when you and Johnny would go back and forth tagging each other in tavern videos, Esther. It was quite a funny time. Rain, hello, good to see you. You do have to be 18 to be in the tavern, just because I don't want to have any sort of liabilities with people's children, because it's primarily adults. There are a lot of adult discussions that go on. There's nothing explicit that goes on in the tavern Discord, but I prefer everyone be 18 if they're going to be in there. I will make an exception for 17, but I prefer everybody be 18. How old are you, Unstable? You can't be that much younger than 18. Well, and that's understandable, Esther. You know, we all go through our busy days. So sell the children to the highest bidder? No, no. Let's not do that, Matty. Oh, yeah, I appreciate when people are able to enjoy themselves in the tavern, and that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a reprieve and an escape for people. Unstable, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you? If you're not 18, you're very articulate. So I would assume that you're at least in your late teens. If you're not, you're very articulate for a young person. No, that Erin is the one who's constantly trying to sell you, Matty. All right, let's see. All right, we got 15 minutes left. Let me see how long the next chapter is. 16 years old. You're very articulate for your age. You communicate very well. In this day and age, I'm always shocked when I meet teenagers who are very articulate. Unstable, when is your birthday? Did you just turn 16, or are you turning 17 this year? I turned 16 in February. Just a second, guys. Unstable. If you can give me a permission from a parent for you to be in there, and you can have a parent email me and tell me that it's okay. But please don't forge it or anything. Like, legitimately, if you can give me a parent's permission for you to be in there, my mods, my barkeeps will make sure that everything stays safe and that everything stays respectful and appropriate. But I want to know that your parents know what you're doing before you come in. And if you do that, then you're more than welcome to come and join. I like to be very careful when it comes to things like this, because I don't want anything to happen that is, one, inappropriate, or two, that your parents would not approve of. The tavern is about storytelling and history and mythology and all of that. So it's more of an educational thing than anything else. But yeah, if you can have a parent email me at blackdragontavern.origins.com and let me know that's fine. My mods will make sure everything stays appropriate. But yeah, because you're almost an adult, but you're not quite an adult. So it's kind of a gray area for me as far as all of that goes. I do remember you being in here all the time back in 2024. I didn't know you were that young. Again, you're very articulate for a young man. I assume young man. Yeah, you could be a young woman, but young man, young woman, for a young folk, you're a very I thought that honestly. I was a very active kid. Yeah. Let me see. Julas, hello and welcome in. I remember when I was 16, we didn't have the internet back in those days. We're surfing. Yeah, and that's why it's one of my few skills. And you should, because a lot of people have a hard time communicating these days, and you're very intelligent, you're very articulate. So I feel like you are mature enough to participate in the conversations that are had, but I need a parent's approval before I could comfortably have you in there. We have a lot of folk who are like in their like 18, 19, 20s, all the way up to early 30s, and then a bunch of folk who are. So here I'll give it to you. It's right here. And you can emphasize to your parents, I don't allow anything explicit in the Discord. There's everything is at least relatively PG in the Discord, but we do talk about like historical things, we do talk about books and so on, and it is an adult server where we do talk about adult topics, but nothing gets explicit. I don't like for there to be anything explicit in there. Those times have changed so much. Technology dominates our lives, transforming the way we connect and interact. That's true. That is very true, Esther. My phone just sent V to messages here. Joker, hello, welcome back. All right. I think we're gonna run ads again for our friends over on Twitch, so they don't end up getting left behind. And then we're gonna run 3 minutes, and then, excuse me. We're gonna run 3 minutes, and then after those 3 minutes, we'll have a whole hour without them, and we'll get back into the story. We're gonna do about another 90 minutes of story time tonight. Not much, Joker. We're still reading, and I was having a conversation with Unstable here. I sent my mom the email. She should get to it tomorrow or the day after. Very good. Very good. I appreciate you working through that. Oh, I just realized that the chat over here was frozen up. If you're 16 and wondering about the rules here in Australia, you should know that the laws are quite strict. Don't forget you'll need parental permission to proceed. Yeah, and that's generally the... Like, if somebody is, like, late into their 16th year or they're 17, 18 years old, I'm willing to consider it with parental approval. Because I know that the mods will make sure everything stays appropriate. I know that the barkeeps will keep everything appropriate. It's just such a gray area, and I don't want anybody taking advantage. Yeah, I just don't want anybody taking advantage of a child. That's the big thing. I don't think anybody in our community would, but I don't like to put other people's children at risk. Like, I'll throw my kid off of a bridge, but I don't want to put other people's kids at risk. Yeah, and I'm usually very firm on the under 18 rule. But when you're approaching adulthood, if your parents approve, then it's fine. So, family update. As of last Wednesday, my parents no longer have any kids in high school. Wow, that's a crazy thing. I go to a game store in town that's not very family friendly. Like a game shop or like a video game store, Unstable. Even though I'm chaotic, I will not put others at risk. The only thing you're at risk of around Matty is losing a few hours to his rants and rambles. Matty is the most loose of us, and he's not too bad, all things considered. True. Castle is being a careful guy. I'm pretty well behaved. I try to be. Joe, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Game Shop, they do Magic the Gathering, D&D, and tabletop. Oh, very interesting. Yes, yes. With or without a parachute castle. I'm usually a without a parachute kind of guy. I'm too heavy for them anyways. I do have a slide filter. Not a big one, but it's there. It's like one of those little tea filters put underneath a waterfall. Yep, all 5 of us graduated from the same school my mom did. That's incredible, Uncle Scooby. Well, congratulations to your parents. Got all 5 of you out and through. I was going to say something inappropriate, but I... What is the parachute you speak of? It's a great question. I prefer 14th to 16th century armor for jumping out of planes. That's true. That's true. 14th to 16th century armor will make sure that you splat particularly nicely. My day was good. Awesome weekend. Good. What do you got planned for this weekend, Joker? Rude. Accurate, but rude. Starting pilot school in the next 2 months. My happy... That is absolutely exceptional, Unstable. Pilot is a good job. It's a hard job to get into, but it's a good job. Well, gonna relax, drink some beer, and watch some good movies and read a book. Sounds like a hell of a weekend. Alright, friends, we're gonna run ads for our friends over on Twitch real quick. It'll be 3 minutes. I apologize. Twitch makes us run them. And this is the lowest that they will let us do to get an hour without them. So, we're going to run 3 minutes of ads real quick, and we will be right back. I'm not going to read anything while we're gone. We will still be waffling a bit, but... I'm a junior as of next year, going into welding, pilot as a side hobby. Well, see, welding is a good job too. He hasn't been in a while, but over on the Twitch portal, we have Jonesy, who is a professional welder, and he is very, very good at it, and he makes pretty decent money at it as well. Just remember to aim. Like I saw my cat, Trini, is right next to me and put her paw over the phone. It's adorable. It's funny, as soon as the lady lays down, at any point, the cats just sort of like flop on her and get out of there. I'm an apprentice. I have roughly 100 hours. Well, congratulations. That's good work. At 16, see, you very much present as somebody who is much older, unstable. You're very mature. You've got ideas of things that you want to do. You're working towards a very constructive and possibly very expensive hobby as being a pilot, and welding, which is a very good and stable job, is are very necessary. There are not enough people who get into the trades these days, like welding and framing and plumbing and electrical and infrastructure and things like that, linemen. There just aren't as many people who get into those jobs because we very much live in sort of like an artsy era. So people don't get as much into the very necessary infrastructure jobs. So there's a lot of demand for folk who do those works. I've been told as much. I've been told I act like I'm 20, 25. You're very advanced for your age. That's for sure. Ray, now I've got you in 2 places. Hello. Milo, sorry. It's all right. It's all right. We're about halfway through. You missed 2 chapters. We're probably going to get another 2 or 3 under our belt before the night is over. I think we'll probably get in another 20 pages tonight. We're going to end on a cliffhanger, too. We've got about 20 pages left tonight, and we are ending on a cliffhanger. So we read every Tuesday and Thursday. Right now, well, I read every Tuesday and Thursday. My wife reads on Sunday. So on Sunday, the lady reads, and on Tuesday and Thursday, I read. Tuesday is Eragon, and Thursday is Prince of the Blood by Raymond D. Feist. So Tuesday is a little bit more family-friendly, and then Thursday is more adult. Dang, well, that's my fault for not paying attention to the time. I hope The last two were good ones. You actually did not miss a whole lot. If you remember last week, Eragon was attacked by Urgles, and him and Saphira dropped down to block the advance of the Urgles towards Brom, blasted them, and then he was out for 2 days, and that's pretty much where we ended up. I'll be back over there soon. Did you see my last comment over on Twitch? I saw the one about your cat putting his paw over your phone. Is that the one you mean? Are Twitch and YouTube the same name? So YouTube is Black Dragon Tavern, and you'll see my face, and there'll be all kinds of short videos and long videos, and you'll see the lives and such. Twitch is Black Dragon Tavern Gaming, because Black Dragon Tavern wasn't available. But again, you'll see my mug all over everything. So it should be good to remember. Yeah, so we were really just dealing with the aftermath of that. Eragon scried the woman who was in his dream, and then beat Brom in a sword fight. And that's really where we are for right now. Welding and pilot as a side gig, I'm amazed to hear from someone so young. That's what I'm saying, very impressive. Because welding is a great job, and if you decide to go into being a pilot, every major airline needs pilots, and they get paid very well. It's a stressful job, so make sure you plan, it's a stressful job. But if you do decide to take it on, it's a very good job. And Unstable also paints miniatures. Warhammer miniatures? Or just regular miniatures? D&D miniatures? Unstable, you go get some sleep. Rest well, my friend. It's good to have you. Good to see you. And we'll look forward to seeing you back again the next time we gather for a story. Warhammer miniatures. I used to do Warhammer and, gosh, I can't remember the name of it anymore, but mechs. There was a mech tabletop game that was similar to Warhammer. And I've lost it. Might have been War Machine. It might have been. I haven't seen the miniatures for it in a long time. I used to have a bunch of them. I don't know where they are anymore. Welding is a really great job. So is crane operation, especially if you learn the ones that are not specialized. That's true. That's true. Haha, nerd. As if any of us in here has any room to talk about nerds. Alright, friends. Well, let us get back into the chapters. I did say hello to our friend DM Towsy. I don't know if anyone is still in here, but thank you all for coming in. It's very good to have you, and I hope that you'll enjoy. I've already got 2 scholarships ready. Just don't put too much pressure on yourself, my friend. Keep yourself held to that high standard, but give yourself a little bit of grace as you go forward. Keep holding yourself to a high standard, because that's how you reach unimaginable heights. But I bid you make sure you give yourself a little bit of grace as you go through things. I'm a big advocate for being hard on yourself. Like, you should hold yourself to a high standard, but also give yourself a little bit of grace when you fail. That's what I always advocate for. I didn't blow raspberries. That's a good point. That's a good point, Bear. I forgot to blow raspberries for our friends. So even if they're not still in, they deserve their raspberries, so let's give them to them. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. My hobbies are roughly $6,000. Jesus. My business doesn't cost $6,000 a month to run Unstable. That is a lot. That is a lot. I would imagine that you should. Oh, good lord. Nah, Jaeger knows that. No, he knows you're teasing, Milo. This is also after having severe brain injury as a child. Good lord. All coming up in the world. I got run over by agricultural equipment. I was going to say that we're lucky if the tavern makes that amount of money in a month. Spending it on hobbies is exceptional. Well, look at you defying all the odds. You made it through all of that just to spend $6,000 a month on Warhammer figures. a prime investment, if we're being honest. A prime investment. Alright, let's get back into stories, my friends. I think it's chapter 29. The Mire of Drasleona. They lunched at Fasseloft, a bustling lakeside village. It was a charming place, set on a rise overlooking the lake. As they ate in the hostel's common room, Eragon listened intently to the gossip, and it was relieved to hear no rumors of him and Saphira. The trail, now a road, had grown steadily worse over the past 2 days. Wagon wheels and iron-shod hooves had conspired to tear up the ground, making many sections impassable. An increase in travelers forced Saphira to hide during the day, and then catch up with Brom and Eragon at night. For days they continued along Leona Lake's vast shore. Eragon began to wonder if they would ever get around it. So he was heartened when they met men who said that Drasleona was an easy day's ride ahead of them. Eragon rose early the following morning, his fingers twitched with anticipation at the thought of finally finding the Razak. The two of you must be careful, said Saphira. The Razak could have spies watching for travelers that fit your description. We'll do our best to remain inconspicuous, he assured her. She lowered her head until their eyes met. Perhaps, but realize that I won't be able to protect you as I did with Yargos. I will be too far away to come to your aid, nor would I survive long in the narrow streets your kind favor. Follow Brom's lead in this hunt. He is sensible. I know, he said somberly. Will you go with Brom to Varden once the Razak are killed? He will want to take you to them, and since Galbatorix will be enraged by the Razak's death, that may be the safest thing for us to do. Eragon rubbed his arms. I don't want to fight the Empire all the time like the Varden do. Life is more than constant war. There'll be time to consider it once the Razak are gone. Don't be too sure, she warned, then went to hide herself until night. The road was clogged with farmers taking their goods to market in Drasleona. Brom and Eragon were forced to slow their horses and wait for wagons that blocked the way. Although they saw smoke in the distance before noon, it was another league before the city was clearly visible. Unlike Teum, a planned city, Drasleona was a tangled mess that sprawled next to Leona Lake. Ramshackle buildings sat on crooked streets, and the heart of the city was surrounded by a dirty, pale yellow wall of daubed mud. Several miles east, a mountain of bare rock speared the sky with spires and columns of tenebrous nightmare ship. Near vertical sides rose out of the ground like a jagged piece of the earth's bone. Brom pointed. That is Helgrand. It's the reason Drasleona was originally built. People are fascinated by it, even though it's an unhealthy and malevolent thing. He gestured at the buildings inside of the city's walls. We should go to the city center first. As they crept along the road to Drasleona, Eragon saw that the highest building within the city was a cathedral that loomed behind the walls. It was strikingly similar to Helgrind, especially when its arches and flanged spires caught the light. Who do they worship? He asked. Brom grimaced in distaste.
Their prayers go to Helgrin. It's a cruel religion they practice. They drink human blood and make flesh offerings. Their priests often lack body parts because they believe that the more bone and sinew you give up, the less attached you are to the mortal world. They spend much of their time arguing about which of Helgrin's 3 peaks is the highest and most important, and whether the 4th and lowest should be included in their worship.
That's horrible, said Eragon, shuddering. What a great slept-on book series. I agree, Crash Overdrive. Crash Overdrive 420.
Very nice. Internet name.
Unstable Howard has arrived. Oh! Howard. Howard, I remember entirely differently. I want to fight the Empire all the time for the Republic and for Mandalore. Clifford, hello, hi everyone. Sorry for the lateness. No, it's all right. We're only about halfway through. Good night, Joker. It's always lovely to see you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. Have yourself a good night and rest well. It's all right. Now you're in good company. Yes. Well, thank you for the follow, my friend. It's good to see you. Welcome in to this tavern.
Yes,
said Grom grimly.
Don't say that to a believer. You'll quickly lose a hand in penance.
At Drosleona's enormous gate, they led the horses through the crush of people. 10 soldiers were stationed on either side of the gates. Casually scanning the crowd, Eragon and Brom passed into the city without incident. The houses inside the city wall were tall and thin to compensate for the lack of space. Those next to the wall were braced against it. Most of the houses hung over the narrow, winding streets, covering the skies so that it was hard to tell if it was night or day. Nearly all the buildings were constructed of the same rough brown wood, which darkened the city even more. The air reeked like a sewer. The streets were filthy. A group of ragged children ran between the houses, fighting over scraps of bread. Deformed beggars crouched next to the entrance gates, pleading for money, their cries for help like a chorus of the damned. We don't even treat animals like this, thought Eragon, eyes wide with anger. I won't stay here, he said, rebelling against the sight.
It gets better farther in, said Brom. Right now we need to find an inn and form a strategy. Drosleona can be a dangerous place, to even the most cautious. I don't want to remain on the streets any longer than necessary.
They forged deeper into Drosleona, leaving the squalid entrance behind. As they entered the wealthier parts of the city, Eragon wondered, how can these people live in ease when the suffering around them is so obvious? They found lodging at the Golden Globe, which was cheap but not decrepit. A narrow bed was crammed against one wall of the room, with a rickety table and a basin alongside it. Eragon took one look at the mattress and said, sleeping on the floor. There are probably enough bugs in that thing to eat me alive. Well, I wouldn't want to deprive them of a meal, said Brom, dropping his bags onto the mattress. Eragon set his own on the floor, pulling off his bow. Now what? He asked. We find food and beer. After that, sleep. Tomorrow we can start looking for the Razak. Before they left the room, Brom warned. No matter what happens, make sure that your tongue doesn't loosen. We'll have to leave immediately if we're given away. The inn's food was barely adequate, but its beer was excellent. By the time they stumbled back to the room, Eragon's head was buzzing pleasantly. He unrolled his blankets on the floor and slid under them, as Brom tumbled into the bed. Just before Eragon fell asleep, he contacted Saphira. We're going to be here for a few days, but this shouldn't take as long as it did in Teo. When we discover where the Razak are, you might be able to help us get them. I'll talk to you in the morning. Right now, I'm not thinking too clearly. You've been drinking? Came the accusing thought. Eragon considered it for a moment and had to agree that she was absolutely right. Her disapproval was clear, but all she said was, They won't envy you in the morning. No, groaned Eragon. But Brom will. He drank twice as much as I did. And so ends chapter 29 of Eragon. I think we've got two more chapters in us, I think. These chapters are pretty short in this section. So I think we'll be alright to keep going. I agree with you there, Howard. Unstable, whichever you prefer to be called. I agree with you there. Anyway, if it gets over 60 degrees, that's too hot for me. I had a hangover before and it was not fun. Thankfully, I have never had a hangover. I handle liquor very well and I don't drink often. The worst that I've ever had is a wine headache, which was terrible. If I drink dry wines, it gives me a headache. I'm not sure why, but I don't care to find out. So I just don't drink all that often. The lady and I are neither of us are big drinkers. The only time that we really drink is for ceremonial or celebratory reasons. And even then, not very often. Thank you for the drink. I would appreciate you. Alright, now we're on to chapter 30. Trail of Oil. What was I thinking? Wondered Eragon in the morning. His head was pounding and his tongue felt thick and fuzzy. As a rat skittered under the floor, Eragon winced at the noise. How are we feeling? Asked Saphira smugly. Eragon ignored her. A moment later, Brom rolled out of bed with a grumble. He doused his head in cold water from the basin and then left the room. Eragon followed him into the hallway. Where are you going? He asked. To recover. I'll come. At the bar, Eragon discovered that Brom's method of recovery involved imbibing copious amounts of hot tea and ice water, and washing it all down with brandy. When they returned to the room, Eragon was able to function somewhat better. Brom belted on his sword and smoothed the wrinkles out of his robe. The first thing we need to do is ask someone discreet questions. I want to find out where the Sather oil was delivered into Rasleona, and where it was taken from there. Most likely, soldiers or workmen were involved in transporting it. We have to find those men and get one to talk. They left the Golden Globe and searched for warehouses where the Sather oil might have been delivered. Near the center of Drasleona, the streets began to slant upward toward a palace of polished granite. It was built on a rise so that it towered above every building except the cathedral. The courtyard was a mosaic of mother of pearl, and parts of the walls were inlaid with gold. Black statues stood in alcoves, and sticks of incense smoking in their cold hands. Soldiers stationed every 4 yards watched passerby keenly. "Who lives there?" asked Eragon in awe.
"Marcus Tabor, ruler of the city. He answers only to the king and his own conscience, which hasn't been very active recently,"
said Brom, and they walked around the palace, looking at the gated ornate houses that surrounded it. By midday, they had learned nothing useful, so they stopped for lunch.
"The city is too vast for us to comb it together,"
said Brom.
"Search on your own and meet me at the Golden Globe by dusk."
He glowered at Eragon from under his bushy eyebrows.
"Trusting you not to do anything stupid."
I won't," promised Eragon. Brom handed him some coins and then strode away in the opposite direction. Throughout the rest of the day, Eragon talked with the shopkeepers and workers, trying to be as pleasant and charming as he could. His questions led him from one end of the city to the other and back again. No one seemed to know about the oil. Wherever he went, the cathedral stared down at him. It was impossible to escape its tall spires. At last he found a man who had helped ship the Sather oil and remembered to which warehouse it had been taken. Eragon excitedly went to look at the building and then returned to the Golden Globe. It was over an hour before Brom came back slumped with fatigue. "Did you find anything?" asked Eragon. Brom brushed back his white hair.
"Heard a great deal of interesting things today. Not the least of which is that Galbatorix will visit Trasliera within the week."
"What?" exclaimed Eragon. Brom slouched against the wall, the lines on his forehead deepening.
"It seems that Tabor has taken few too many liberties with his power, so Galbatorix has decided to come and teach him a lesson in humility. It's the first time the king has left Orubean in over 10 years.
"Do you think he knows of us?" asked Eragon.
Of course he knows of us, but I'm sure he hasn't been told of our location. If he had, we would already be in the Razak's grasp. However, this means that whatever we're going to do about the Razak must be accomplished before Galbatorix arrives. We don't want to be anywhere within 20 leagues of him. The one thing in our favor is that the Razak are sure to be here, preparing for his visit."
"I want to get the Razak," said Eragon, his fist tightening. "But not if it means fighting the king. He could probably tear me to pieces." That seemed to amuse Brom.
"Very good. Caution. And you're right. You wouldn't stand a chance against Galbatorix. Now tell me what you learned today. I might confirm what I heard."
Eragon shrugged. It was mostly drivel, but I did talk to a man who knew where the oil had been taken. It's just an old warehouse. Other than that, I didn't discover anything useful.
"My day was a little more fruitful than yours. I heard the same thing you did, so I went to the warehouse and talked with the workers. Didn't take much cajoling before they revealed that the cases of Sather oil are always sent from the warehouse to the palace."
"And that's when you came back here," finished Eragon.
"No, it's not. Don't interrupt. After that, I went to the palace, got myself invited into the servants' quarters as a bard. 7 hours I wandered about, amusing the maids and others with songs and poems, and asking questions all the while."
Brom slowly filled his pipe with tobacco.
"Really is amazing all the things servants find out. But did you know that one of the earls has 3 mistresses, and they all live in the same wing of the palace?
He shook his head and lit his pipe. Aside from the fascinating tidbits, I was told, quite by accident, where the oil is taken from the palace. And that is? Asked Eragon impatiently. Brom puffed on his pipe and blew a smoke ring. Out of the city, of course. Every full moon, 2 slaves are sent to the base of the Helgrind with a month's worth of provisions. Whenever they say their oil arrives in Drosleona, they send it along with the provisions. The slaves are never seen again. And the one time someone followed them, he disappeared too. I thought the riders demolished the slave trade, said Eragon. Unfortunately, it has flourished under the king's reign. So the Razak are in Helgrin, said Eragon, thinking of the rock mountain. There or somewhere nearby. If they are in Helgrin, they'll either be at the bottom and protected by a thick stone door, or higher up where only their mounts or Saphira can reach. Top or bottom, their shelter will be no doubt disguised. He thought for a moment. If Saphira and I go fly around Helgrin, the Razak are sure to see us, not to mention all of Drosleona. It is a problem. But what if we took the place of the 2 slaves? The full moon isn't far off. It would give us a perfect opportunity to get close to the Razak. Brom tugged his beard thoughtfully. That's chancy, at best. The slaves are killed from a distance. We'll be in trouble. We can't harm the Razak if they aren't in sight. We don't know if the slaves are killed at all, Eragon pointed out. Sure they are, said Brom, his face grave. Then his eyes sparkled and he blew another smoke ring. Still, it's an intriguing idea. If we're done with Saphira hidden nearby and, his voice trailed off. It might work, but we'll have to move quickly. With the king coming, there isn't much time. Should we go to Helgrin and look around? It would be good to see the land in daylight, so we won't be surprised by any ambushes, said Eragon. Brom fingered his staff. That can be done later, tomorrow. I'll return to the palace and figure out how we can replace the slaves. I have to be careful not to arouse suspicion, though. I could easily be revealed by spies and courtiers who know about the Razak. I can't believe it. We've actually found them, said Eragon quietly. An image of his dead uncle in Burn Farm flashed through his mind. His jaw tightened. The toughest part is yet to come, but yes, we've done well, said Brom. Fortune smiles on us. You may soon have your revenge, and the Varden will be rid of a dangerous enemy. What comes after that will be up to you. Eragon opened his mind and jubilantly told Saphira. We found the Razak's lair. Where? He quickly explained to her what they had discovered. Helgrand, she mused. A fitting place for them. Eragon agreed. When we're done here, maybe we could visit Carverhall. What is it you want? She asked, suddenly sour. To go back to your previous life. You know that won't happen. So stop mooning after it. At a certain point, you have to decide what to commit to. Will you hide for the rest of your life? Or will you help the Varden? Those are the only options left to you, unless you join forces with Galbatorix, which I do not and will never accept. Softly he said, If I must choose, I cast my fate with the Varden, as you well know. Yes, but sometimes you have to hear yourself say it. She left him to ponder her words. And so ends chapter 30 or 31. Hollyhock McFuddle, hello and welcome in. Thank you for the oranges and the heartney. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated. Thank you kindly, my friend. And you've marked the tavern on your map. You should be able to find your way back. the next time you seek a story. Alright, my friends. Thank you, Milu, for the drink. I appreciate you. We've got one chapter left tonight. And it's just over 10 pages. Should draw us right in to the 45-minute mark. Give us a little bit of time to waffle before I send you all off for the rest of the evening. Alright. Unfortunately, I have finals tomorrow. Nah, you'll do spectacular. But you should get to bed if you have finals tomorrow. Yes, it's 12:18 here. So time for after story waffles. I agree. Let's get right into it, my friends. I have honors math and dual credit medical terminology. Well, get in there, my friend. We'll wish you the best of luck. But I find that luck is often more easily replaced with preparation and skill. So I wish you the best of skill and preparation. Alright, chapter 31. Worshippers of Helgrind. Eragon was alone in the room when he woke. Scrawled onto the wall with a charcoal stick was a note that read, Eragon, I'll be gone until late tonight. Coins for food are under the mattress. Explore the city, enjoy yourself, but stay unnoticed. Brom, Pierce, avoid the palace. Don't go anywhere without your bow. Keep it strong. Eragon wiped the wall clean, then retrieved the money from under the bed. He slipped his bow across his back, thinking, I wish I didn't have to go armed all the time. He left the Golden Globe and ambled through the streets, stopping to observe whatever interested him. There were many intriguing stores, but none quite as exciting as Angela's herb shop in Terem. At times he glared at the dark, claustrophobic houses and wished that he were free of the city. When he grew hungry, he bought a wedge of cheese and a loaf of bread and ate them, sitting on a curb. Later, in a far corner of Drasleona, he heard an auctioneer rattling off a list of prices. Curious, he headed towards the voice and arrived at the wide open between two buildings. Two men stood on a high-waist platform. Arrayed before them was a richly dressed crowd, so that both colourful and boisterous. Where are the goods for sale? Wondered Eragon. The auctioneer finished his list and motioned for a young man behind the platform to join him. The man awkwardly climbed up, dragging chains at his hands and feet. And here we have our first item, proclaimed the auctioneer. A healthy male from the Hardarak Desert, captured just last month and in excellent condition. Look at those arms and legs, he's strong as a bull. He'd be perfect as a shield bearer, or, if you don't trust him for that, hard labour. But let me tell you, lords and ladies, that would be a waste. He's bright as a nail, and if you can get him to talk in a civilized tongue. The crowd laughed, and Eragon ground his teeth with fury. His lips started to form a word that would free the slave, and his arm, newly liberated from the splint, rose. The mark on his palm shimmered, and he was about to release magic when it struck him. He'd never get away. The slave would be caught before he reached the city walls. Eragon would only make the situation worse if he tried to help. He lowered his arm and quietly cursed. Think. This is how you got in trouble with the Urgles. He watched helplessly as the slave was sold to a tall, hawk-nosed man. The next slave was a tiny girl, no more than 6 years old, wrenched from the arms of her crying mother. As the auctioneer started the bidding, Eragon forced himself to walk away, rigid with fury and outrage. It was several blocks before the weeping was inaudible. I'd like to see a thief try and cut my purse right now, he thought grimly, almost wishing it would happen. Frustrated, he punched a nearby wall, bruising his knuckles. That's the sort of thing I could stop by fighting the Empire, he realized. With Saphira by my side, we could free those slaves. I've been graced with special powers. It would be selfish of me not to use them for the benefit of others. If I don't, I might as well not be a rider at all. It was a while before he took stock of his bearings and was surprised to find himself before the cathedral. Its twisted spires were covered with statues and scrollwork. Starling gargoyles crouched along the eaves. Fantastic beasts writhed on the walls, and heroes and kings marched along their bottom edges, frozen in cold marble. Ribbed arches and tall stained glass windows lined the cathedral's sides, along with columns of different sizes. A lonely turret helmed the building like a mast. Recessed in shadows at the cathedral's front was an iron-bound door inlaid with a row of silver script that Eragon recognized as the ancient language. As best as he could tell, it read, "May thee who enter here understand thine impermanence, and forget thine attachments to that which is beloved." The entire building sent a shiver down Eragon's spine. There was something menacing about it, as if it were a predator crouched in the city, waiting for its next victim. A broad row of steps led to the cathedral's entrance. Eragon solemnly ascended them and stopped before the door. I wonder if I can go in. Almost guiltily, he pushed on the door and it swung open smoothly, gliding on oiled hinges. He stepped inside. The silence of a forgotten tomb filled the empty cathedral. The air was chill and dry. Bare walls extended to a vaulted ceiling that was so high Eragon felt no taller than an ant. The stained glass windows depicting scenes of anger, hate, and remorse pierced the walls, while spectral beams of light washed sections of granite pews with transparent hues, leaving the rest in shadow. His hands were shaded a deep blue. Between the windows stood statues with rigid, pale eyes. He returned their stern gazes, then slowly trod up the center row, afraid to break the quiet. His leather boots padded noiselessly on the polished stone floor. The altar was a great slab of stone devoid of adornment. A solitary finger of light upon it, illuminating motes of golden dust floating into the air. Mr. Tidio, hello, it's good to see you. Been a while, welcome in. I forgot Milu bought a round for the tavern. So everybody raise your glass. Alright, where was I? It's multiple choice, I'll be fine. That's that's the confidence. Behind the altar, the pipes of a wind organ pierced the ceiling and opened themselves to the elements. The instrument would play its music only when a gale rocked Ras Leona. Out of respect, Eragon knelt before the altar and bowed his head. He did not pray, but paid homage to the cathedral itself, the sorrow of the lives it had witnessed, as well as the unpleasantness of the elaborate pageantry that played out on the walls, emanated from the stones. It was a forbidding place, bare and cold. In that chilling touch, though, came a glimpse of eternity, and perhaps the powers that lay there. Finally, Eragon inclined his head and rose. Calm and grave, he whispered words to himself in the ancient language and then turned to leave. He froze. His heart jumped, hammering like a drum. The Razak stood at the cathedral's entrance, watching him, their swords drawn, keen edges bloody in the crimson light. A sibilant hiss came from the smaller Razak. Neither of them moved. Rage welled up in Eragon. He had chased the Razak for so many weeks that the pain of their murderous deeds had dulled within him. But his vengeance was at hand. His wrath exploded like a volcano, fueled even more by his pent-up fury at the slave's plight. A roar broke from his lips echoing like a thunderstorm as he snatched his bow from his back. Deftly, he fit an arrow into the string and loosed it. 2 more followed an instant later. The Razak leapt away from the arrows with inhuman swiftness. They hissed as they ran up the aisle, between the pews, cloaks flapping like ravens' wings. Eragon reached for another arrow, but caution stayed his hand. If they knew where to find me, Brom is in danger as well. I must warn him. Then, to Eragon's horror, a line of soldiers filed into the cathedral, and he glimpsed a field of uniforms jostling outside the doorway. Eragon gazed hungrily at the charging Razak, then swept around, searching for means of escape. A vestibule to the left of the altar caught his attention. He bounded through the archway and dashed down a corridor that led to a priory with a belfry. The patter of the Razak's feet behind him made him quicken his pace until the hall abruptly ended with a closed door. He pounded against it, trying to break it open, but the wood was too strong. The Razak were nearly upon him. Frantic, he sucked in his breath and barked, "Jirda!" With a flash, the door splintered into pieces and fell to the floor. Eragon jumped into the small room and continued running. He sped through several chambers, startling a group of priests. Shouts and curses followed him. The priory bell tolled an alarm. Eragon dodged through a kitchen, past a pair of monks, and then slipped through a side door. He skidded to a stop in a garden surrounded by a high brick wall devoid of handholds. There were no other exits. Eragon turned to leave, but there was a low hiss of a Razak aside the door. Desperate, he rushed at the wall, arms pumping. Magic could not help him here. If he used it to break through the wall, he would be too tired to run. He jumped, with even his arms outstretched, only his fingertips cleared the edge of the wall. The rest of his body smashed against the bricks, driving the breath out of him. Eragon gasped and hung there, struggling not to fall. The Razak prowled into the garden, swinging their heads from side to side, like wolfhounds sniffing for prey. Eragon sensed their approach and heaved with his arms. His shoulders shrieked with pain as he scrambled onto the wall and dropped to the other side. He stumbled, then regained his balance and darted down an alley just as the Razak leapt over the wall. Galvanized, Eragon put on another burst of speed. He ran for over a mile before he had to stop and catch his breath, unsure if he had lost the Razak. He found a crowded marketplace and dived under a parked wagon. How did they find me? He wondered, panting. They shouldn't know where I was, unless something happened to Brom. He reached out with his mind to Saphira and said, "The Razak found me. We're all in danger. Check if Brom's all right. If he is, warn him and have him meet me at the inn. And be ready to fly here as fast as you can. We may need your help to escape." She was silent, then said curtly, "He'll meet you at the end. Don't stop moving. You're in great danger." "Don't I know it?" muttered Eragon, and he rolled out from under the wagon. He hurried back to the Golden Globe, quickly packed their belongings and saddled the horses, then led them to the street, and Brom soon arrived, staff in hand. Scowling dangerously, he swung on the snowfire and asked, "What happened?" "I was at the cathedral when the Razak just appeared behind me," Eragon said, climbing onto Caddock. I ran back as fast as possible, but they could be here any second. Saphira will join us once we're out of Drasleona. We have to get outside the city walls before they close the gates. They haven't already. If they're shut, it'll be nigh impossible to leave. If you do, don't get separated from me. Eragon stiffened as ranks of soldiers marched down the end of the street. Brom cursed, lashed Snowfire with his reins and galloped away. Eragon bent low over Caddock and followed. They nearly crashed several times during the wild, hazardous ride, plunging through the masses of people that clogged the streets as they neared the city wall. When the gates finally came into view, Eragon pulled Caddock's reins with dismay. The gates were already half closed, and a double line of pikemen blocked their way. "They'll cut us to pieces," he exclaimed. "We have to try to make it," said Brom in a voice that was hard. "I'll deal with the men, but you have to keep the gates open for us." Eragon nodded. He gritted his teeth and dug his heels into Caddock. They ploughed toward the line of unwavering soldiers who lowered their pikes towards the horses' chests and braced the weapons against the ground. Though the horses snorted with fear, Eragon and Brom held them in place. Eragon heard the soldiers shout, but kept his attention on the gates inching shut. As they neared the sharp pikes, Brom raised his hand and spoke. The words struck with precision, and the soldiers fell to each side of their legs, had been cut out from underneath them. The gap between the gates shrank by the second. Hoping the effort would not prove too much for him, Eragon drew on his power and shouted, "Du Grind Hilda!" The deep grating sound emanated from the gates, as they trembled and then ground to a stop. The crowd of guards fell silent and stared with amazement. With a clatter of horses' hooves, Brom and Eragon shot from behind Drasleona's wall. The instant they were free, Eragon released the gate. They shuddered and then boomed shut. He swayed with the expected fatigue, but managed to keep riding. Brom watched him with concern. Their flight continued through the outskirts of Drasleona, as alarm trumpets sounded on the city walls. Saphira was waiting for them by the edge of the city, hidden by some trees. Her eyes burned and her tail whipped back and forth. "Go, ride her," said Brom, and this time stay in the air. No matter what happens to me, I'll head south, fly nearby. I don't care if Saphira is seen." Eragon quickly mounted Saphira. As the ground dwindled away beneath him, he watched Brom gallop along the road. "Are you all right?" asked Saphira. "Yes," said Eragon, "but only because we were very lucky." A puff of smoke blew from her nostrils. "All the time we spent searching for the Razak was useless." "I know," he said, letting his head sag against her scales. "If the Razak had been the only enemies back there, I would have stayed and fought. With all the soldiers on their side, it was hardly a fair match." "You understand that there will be talk of us now. This was hardly an unobtrusive escape. Evading the Empire will be harder than ever." There was an edge to her voice that he was unaccustomed to. "I know." They flew low and fast over the road. Leona Lake receded behind them, and the land became dry and rocky, filled with tough, sharp bushes and tall cactuses. Clouds darkened the sky, and lightning flashed in the distance. As the wind began to howl, Saphira glided steeply down to Brom. He stopped the horses and asked, "What's wrong?" "The wind is too strong." "It's not that bad," objected Brom. "It is up there," said Eragon, pointing at the sky. Brom swore and handed him Caddock's reins. They trotted away, with Saphira following on foot. Though on the ground, she had difficulty keeping up with the horses. The gale grew stronger, flinging dirt through the air and twisting like a dervish. They wrapped scarves around their heads to protect their eyes. Brom's robes flapped in the wind, while his beard whipped about as if it had a life of its own. Though it would make them miserable, Eragon hoped it would rain so that their tracks would be obliterated. Soon darkness forced them to stop. With only stars to guide them, they left the road and made camp behind two boulders. was too dangerous to light a fire, so they ate cold food, while Saphira sheltered them from the wind. After a sparse dinner, Eragon asked bluntly, "How did they find us?" Brom started to light his pipe, but then thought better of it and put it away. "One of the palace servants warned me that there were spies among them. Somehow word of me and my questions must have reached Tabor, and through him the Razak." "We can't go back to Drasleona, can we?" asked Eragon. Brom shook his head. "Not for a few years." Eragon held his head between his hands. "Then we should draw the Razak out. If we let Saphira be seen, they'll come running to wherever she is." "When they do, there will be 50 soldiers with them," said Brom. "At any rate, this isn't the time to discuss it. Right now we have to concentrate on staying alive. Tonight will be the most dangerous because the Razak will be hunting us in the dark, when they are strongest. We'll have to trade watches until morning." "Right," said Eragon, standing. He hesitated and squinted. His eyes caught a flicker of movement, a small patch of color that stood out from the surrounding landscape. He stepped toward the edge of their camp, trying to see it better. "What is it?" said Brom as he unrolled his blankets. Eragon stared into the darkness, then turned back. "I don't know. I thought I saw something, but it must have been a bird." Pain erupted in the back of his head. Saphira roared, and then Eragon toppled to the ground, unconscious. And so ends chapter 31. Before I go, what time are the lives? So normally we try to start sometime between 5 and 7. It is not consistent at all, but usually we'll be on somewhere between 5:30 and 7. Scheduled at 5:30, but I rarely make it on at 5:30. Oh, you know what? Guys, the next chapter is only 3 pages long. Should we do one more chapter? Should we do a final chapter, or should we leave it on a cliffhanger? Pacific Standard Time, Howard. Ugh. One more chapter? Alright. Oh, Matthew's got a tiny sip in there. I actually don't have anything to take a tiny sip with, so I will just tiny sip with my water today. Yeah, it's only 3 pages. Thank you, my friends. Ads in 5, thank you Frost, thank you Bear, appreciate you. Yeah, the next chapter is only 3 pages long. So let's go ahead, we'll run those ads. That's a lot. Let's go ahead and run those ads real quick, friends, and then we'll do this. Hydrate, you got it. And then Matty wants me to show him a kitty. I'll get up and grab the kitty cat once we finish these chapters, because he's probably sleeping where he's not supposed to be anyway. So, all right, we're gonna do 3 minutes of ads for our Twitch friends, and then we will be right back. My school had a fire last Wednesday, so I'm stressing out. You have a very eventful life, Howard. Lots of stuff going on. Was it a terrible fire, like everything burned down and you can't recognize anything anymore, or is it more like something in a classroom sort of caught fire and they had to call the fire department and they used a fire extinguisher sort of thing? One, two, three. You know what's crazy though? Is the next so let's see the next 2 chapters are only 9 pages. We might be able to do that. I think we might be able to squeeze 2 chapters out, guys. I think we might. So we've got about 30 minutes left for story time. I think we could probably squeeze another 2 chapters out. If I'm being honest. What do you guys think? It's 8 pages. Not even really 8 pages. It's like 7 pages. He is the king of short chapters. That's true. I forgot. No, it was a senior prank in the bathroom. Ah, okay. Well, that's not terrible. They lit a trash bin on fire and threw it in the library. In 2023, we had a fire that burned lots. Lighting a trash bin on fire and throwing it in the library is egregious. That's not a prank. That is egregious. That's mighty ambitious. I mean, they're so short. Like, these 2 chapters are so short. Like, this next one is only 3 pages. And again, only just barely 3 pages. And then the next one is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 and a 5th pages. So it's only just barely 8 pages. It's not that much. I think we can manage that. Lost 6 classrooms in the cafeteria. Good lord. Now, was that because somebody was doing a stupid prank, or was that because of something else? Oh, I do my best. You guys are good to the tavern. I'm happy to say I've made good progress on my story. I am looking forward to reading it, Frost. I am looking forward to reading it. That was electrical. Oh, yeah. A lot of old buildings. Well, not even really old buildings, but a lot of buildings that were made in like the last 30 years or so just had such subpar electrical in them that it absolutely dangerous. Isn't it fascinating when that happens with a story, Frost? Like, you picture it going one way, and then it turns out completely different from what you had originally imagined. Alright, friends, let's get back into it with Chapter 32, The Razak's Revenge. A dull throbbing roused Eragon. Every time blood pulsed through his head, it brought a fresh wave of pain. He cracked his eyes open and winced. Tears rushed to his eyes as he looked directly into a bright lantern. He blinked and looked away. Then he tried to sit up. He realized that his hands were tied behind his back. He turned lethargically and saw Brom's arms. Eragon was relieved to see that they were bound together. Why was that? He struggled to figure it out until he thought suddenly came to him. They wouldn't tie up a dead man. But who were they? He swiveled his head further, then stopped as a pair of black boots entered his vision. Eragon looked up right into the cowled face of a Razak. Fear jolted through him. He reached for magic and started to voice a word that would kill the Razak, then halted, puzzled. He could not remember the word. Frustrated, he tried again, only to feel it slip out of his grasp. Above him, the Razak laughed chillingly.
The drug is working, yes. I think you will not be bothering us again.
There was a rattle off to the left, and Eragon was appalled to see the second Razak fitting a muzzle over Saphira's head. Her wings were pinioned to her sides by black chains. There were shackles on her legs. Eragon tried to contact her, but felt nothing.
She was most cooperative when we threatened to kill you.
Hissed the Razak. Squatting by the lantern, he rummaged through Eragon's bag, examining and discarding various items until he removed Zarok.
What a pretty thing for one so insignificant. Maybe I will keep it.
He leaned closer and sneered.
Or maybe if you behave, our master will let you polish it.
His moist breath smelled like raw meat. Then he turned the sword over in his hands and screeched as he saw the symbol on the scabbard. His companion rushed over and they stood over the sword, hissing and clicking. At last they faced Eragon.
You serve our master very well, yes?
Eragon forced his thick tongue to form words. If I do, I will kill you. They chuckled coldly.
Oh no, we are too valuable. But you're disposable.
A deep snarl came from Saphira. Smoke roiled from her nostrils. The Razak did not seem to care. Their attention was diverted when Brom groaned and rolled over onto his side. One of the Razak grabbed his shirt and thrust him effortlessly into the air.
It's wearing off. Give him more. Let's just kill him,
said the shorter Razak.
He has caused us much grief.
The taller one ran his finger down the sword.
A good plan, but remember, the king's instructions were to keep them alive. We can say he was killed when we captured them. But of this one,
the Razak asked, pointing his sword at Eragon.
If he talks.
His companion laughed and drew a wicked dagger.
He would not dare.
There was a long silence, then...
Agreed.
They dragged Brom to the center of the camp and shoved him to his knees. Brom sagged to one side, and Eragon watched with growing fear. I have to get free. He wrenched at the ropes, but they were too strong to break.
None of that now,
said the tall Razak, poking him with a sword. He nosed the air and sniffed something seemed to trouble him. The other Razak growled, yanked Brom's head back, and swept the dagger towards his exposed throat. At the very moment, a low buzz sound followed by the Razak's howl. An arrow protruded from his shoulder. The Razak nearest Eragon dropped to the ground, barely avoiding a second arrow. He scuttled to his wounded companion, and they glared into the darkness, hissing angrily. They made no move to stop Brom as he blearily staggered upright. Get down! Cried Eragon. Brom wavered and then tottered towards Eragon. As more arrows hissed into the camp from the unseen attackers, the Razak rolled behind some boulders. There was a lull, then the arrows came from the opposite direction. Caught by surprise, the Razak reacted slowly. Their cloaks were pierced in several places, and a shattered arrow buried itself in one's arms. With a wild cry, the smaller Razak fled towards the road, kicking Eragon viciously in the side as he passed. His companion hesitated, then grabbed the dagger from the ground and raced after him. As they left camp, he hurled the knife at Eragon. A strange light suddenly burned in Brom's eyes, and he threw himself in front of Eragon. His mouth opened in a soundless snarl. The dagger struck him with a soft thump, and he landed heavily in his shoulder. His head lolled limply. No! Screamed Eragon. Though he was doubled over in pain, he heard footsteps. Then his eyes closed, and he knew no more. Good night, Howard. Rest well. Good luck tomorrow. The school does not have a good track. It doesn't sound like it does. Yeah, no kidding, Tyson. Knob and tube, it was fine for the time, but the older it gets, the less safe it is. A good yawn can be just as entertaining, but normally in a pub. All right, friends. Now we're on to the final chapter for tonight. May Odin bless your days. Well, thank you, Ghost. Welcome in. Very good to see you. Grab a seat. We're just finishing up story time for tonight. We got a few more pages before we're done for the evening. We are now on to chapter 33. Myrtle. For a long while, Eragon was aware only of the burning in his side. Each breath was painful. It felt as though he had been the one stabbed, not Brom. His sense of time was skewed. It was hard to tell if weeks had gone by or only a few minutes. When consciousness finally came to him, he opened his eyes and peered curiously at a campfire several feet away. His hands were still tied together, but the drug must have worn off, because he could think clearly again. Zafira, are you injured? No, but you and Brom are. She was crouched over Eragon, wings spread protectively on either side. Zafira, did you make that fire? You didn't make that fire, did you? And you couldn't have gotten out of those chains by yourself? No, I didn't think so. Eragon struggled to his knees and saw a young man sitting on the far side of the fire. The stranger, dressed in battered clothes, exuded a calm, assured air. In his hands was a bow, and at his side was a long hand-and-a-half sword. A white horn bound in silver fittings lay on his lap. The hilt of a dagger protruded from his boot. His serious face and fierce eyes were framed by locks of brown hair. He appeared to be a few years older than Eragon, and perhaps an inch or so taller. Behind him a grey warhorse was picketed. The stranger watched Zafira warily. "Who are you?" asked Eragon, taking a shallow breath. The man's hands tightened on his bow. Myrtle. His voice was low and controlled, but curiously emotional. Eragon pulled his hands underneath his legs so that they were in front of him. He clenched his teeth as the side flared with pain. "Why did you help us?" "You aren't the only enemy the Razak have. I was tracking them." "You know who they are?" "Yes." Eragon concentrated on the ropes that bound his wrists and reached for the magic. He hesitated, aware of Bertar's eyes on him, then decided it didn't matter. "Jed," he grunted, and the rope snapped off his wrists. He rubbed his hands to get the blood flowing. Murtaugh sucked in his breath. Eragon braced himself and tried to stand, but his ribs seared with agony. He fell back, gasping between clenched teeth. Murtaugh tried to come to his aid, but Zafira stopped him with a growl. "I would have helped you earlier, but your dragon wouldn't let me near you." "Her name's Zafira," said Eragon tightly. Now let him by. I can't do this alone. Besides, he saved our lives." Zafira growled again, but folded her wings and backed away. Murtaugh eyed her flatly as he stepped forward. He grasped Eragon's arm, gently pulling him to his feet. Eragon yelped, and would have fallen without support. They went to the fire where Brom lay on his back. "How is he?" asked Eragon. "Bad," said Murtaugh, lowering him to the ground. "The knife went right through between his ribs. You can look at him in a minute, but first we'd better see how much damage the Razak did to you." He helped Eragon remove his shirt and then whistled. "Ouch." "Ouch," agreed Eragon weakly. A blotchy bruise extended down his left side. The red and swollen skin was broken in several places. Murtaugh put a hand on the bruise and pressed lightly. Eragon yelled and Saphira growled a warning. Murtaugh glanced at Saphira as he grabbed a blanket. I think you may have some broken ribs. It's hard to tell, but at least 2, maybe more. You're lucky you're not coughing up blood. He tore the blanket into strips and bound Eragon's chest. Eragon slipped the shirt back on. Yes, I'm lucky. He took a shallow breath and sidled over to Braun, and saw that Murtaugh had cut the side of his robe to bandage the wound. With a trembling finger, he undid the bandage. I wouldn't do that, warned Murtaugh. He'll bleed to death without it. Eragon ignored him and pulled the cloth away from Brom's side. The wound was short and thin, belying its depth. Blood streamed out of it. As he had learned when Garrow was injured, a wound inflicted by the Razak was slow to heal. He peeled off his gloves while furiously searching his mind for healing words Brom had taught him. Help me, Saphira, he implored. I'm too weak to do this alone. Saphira crouched next to him, fixing her eyes on Brom. I am here, Eragon. As her mind joined his, new strength infused his body. Eragon drew upon their combined power and focused it on the words. He raised a trembled hand and held it over the wound. Wise hail, he said. His palm glowed and Brom's skin flowed together as if it had never been broken. Murtaugh watched the entire process. It was over quickly. As the light vanished, Eragon sat, feeling sick. We've never done that before, he said. Saphira nodded. Together we can cast spells that are beyond either of us. Murtaugh examined Brom's side and asked, Is he completely healed? I can only mend what is on the surface. I don't know enough to fix whatever damage is inside. It's up to him now. I've done all I can. Eragon closed his eyes for a moment, utterly weary. My head seems to be floating in clouds. You probably need to eat, said Murtaugh. I'll make soup. While Murtaugh fixed the meal, Eragon wondered who this stranger was. His sword and bow were the finest make, as was his horn. Either he was a thief or accustomed to money, and lots of it. Why was he hunting the Razak? What have they done to make him an enemy? I wonder if he works for the Varden. Murtaugh handed him a bowl of broth. Eragon spooned it down and asked, How long has it been since the Razak fled? A few hours. We have to go before they return with reinforcements. You might be able to travel, said Murtaugh, then gestured at Brom. But he can't. You don't get up and ride away after being stabbed between the ribs. If we make a litter, can you carry Brom with your claws, like you did with Gara? Eragon asked Saphira. Yes, but landing will be awkward. As long as it can be done, Eragon said to Murtaugh. Saphira can carry him, but we need a litter. Can you make one? I don't have the strength. Wait here. Murtaugh left the camp, sword drawn. Eragon hobbled to his bags and picked up his bow from there where it had been thrown by the Razak. He strung it, found his quiver, and then retrieved Zarok, which lay hidden in the shadow. Last he got a blanket, the litter. Murtaugh returned with 2 saplings, and he laid them parallel on the ground. Then he lashed the blanket between the poles, and after he carefully tied Brom to the makeshift litter, Saphira grasped the saplings and laboriously took flight. I never thought I would see a sight like that, Murtaugh said, with an odd note in his voice. Saphira disappeared into the dark sky. Eragon limped to Kadok and hoisted himself painfully into the saddle. Thanks for helping us. You should leave now. Ride as far away from us as you can. You'll be in danger if the Empire finds out you are with us. We can't protect you, and I wouldn't see harm come to you on our account. Pretty speech, said Murtaugh, grinding at the fire. But where will you go? Is there a place nearby that you can rest in safety? No, admitted Eragon. Murtaugh's eyes glinted as he fingered the hilt of his sword. In that case, I think I'll be accompanying you until you're out of danger. I've no better place to be. Besides, if I stay with you, I might get another shot at the Razak sooner than if I were on my own. Interesting things are bound to happen around a rider. Eragon wavered, unsure if he should accept help from a complete stranger. Yet, he was unpleasantly aware that he was too weak to force the issue either way. If Murtaugh proves untrustworthy, Saphira can always chase him away. Join us, if you wish, he shrugged. Murtaugh nodded and mounted his grey warhorse. Eragon grabbed Starfire's reins and rode away from the camp into the wilderness. An oxbow moon proved one light, but he knew that it would only make it easier for the Razak to track them. Though Eragon wanted to question Murtaugh further, he kept silent, conserving his energy for riding. Near dawn, Saphira said, I must stop. My wings are tired and Brom needs attention. I discovered a good place to stay, about 2 miles ahead of where you are. They found her sitting at the base of a broad sandstone formation that curved out of the ground like a great hill. Its sides were pocked with caves of varying sizes. Similar domes were scattered across the land. Saphira looked pleased with herself. I found a cave that can't be seen from the ground. It's large enough for all of us, including the horses. Follow me. She turned and climbed up the sandstone, her sharp claws digging into the rock. The horses had difficulty as their shod hooves could not grip the sandstone. Eragon and Murtaugh had to pull and shove the animals for almost an hour before they managed to reach the cave. The cavern was a good 100 feet long and more than 20 feet wide. Yet it had a small opening that would protect them from bad weather and prying eyes. Darkness swallowed the far end, clinging to the walls like mats of soft black wool. Impressive, said Murtaugh. I'll gather wood for a fire. Eragon hurried to Brom. Saphira set him down on a small rock ledge at the rear of the cave. Eragon clasped Brom's limp hand and anxiously watched his craggy face. After a few minutes he sighed and went to the fire Murtaugh had built. They ate quietly, then he gave Brom water, but the old man would not drink. Stymied, they spread out their bedrolls and slept. And so ends chapter probably 33 of Eragon. And now we truly are on a cliffhanger. Oh cool, it's Eragon. It's about the Durgeons. Well, hello, Moonlight Hopkin. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Yes, we are in the midst of Eragon. We are about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through now. Making spectacular progress. We'll probably be done with this book in a couple of weeks, really. Dimples, hello. Hannah, hello. But yes, Black Dragon or Castle is fine. But Dimples, hello, it's good to see you. Hannah, hello, it's good to see you. And Joe, good to see you. Hey, my brother, it's been a long time since I read it. It has been quite a while since I read it as well. This is the first time I've read it since the year it came out. How often do you read? I read on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I usually start between 5:30 and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then the Lady of the Tavern reads on Sundays. Well, friends, that was quite a bit of reading. I think I could probably manage one song to end us up. And for anyone who's new here at the end of Storytime, we sing shanties and ballads together. We don't sing well, mind you, we just sing to have fun. Every night's different sagas. Well, every day we do a different story as the stories that we put out. The Tuesday and Thursdays are two different books, but it's the same book every Tuesday and the same book every Thursday. But they're two different books between Tuesday and Thursday. So we have a family-friendly book on Tuesday, and then we have usually a more adult, more mature book on Thursday. Nothing explicit, but usually dealing with more adult themes and language and violence and whatnot. Good night, Frost. Rest well, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the barkeeps who hope to hold up the bar for the evening. I appreciate you all for all you do, my friends. Frost, rest well, and we will see you back again on Thursday. Oh, you said you read, I read every night different sagas. It's good to keep the mind sharp. Do you know the song Glitter and Gold? You know what? I think that I do. Let me see. You're talking about by Barnes Courtney? Crow? I don't think I could sing that one, but I do know the song. Oh, I should say I know of the song. Of course, Matty, I appreciate you. Hammer and the Anvil. I haven't worked on Hammer and the Anvil, Clifford, yet. I will get to it, but I haven't worked on it yet. We could do... Yeah, I am aware of this song. It's the I am flesh and I am bone, rise up ting ting like glitter and gold. Yeah, Barnes Courtney has some good music. If you've never listened to Barnes Courtney, it's sort of like country indie rock. It's very good. Yeah, Barnes Courtney makes really good music. At least the music of his that I've heard. Kicks is really good. Fire is really good. Glitter and Gold is really good. Golden Dandelions, if I remember right, is pretty good. Like, the man makes good music. I know, I've been so busy with all of the other things. I need to get back on learning songs. Howard is back, and Hannah, you have a cold. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. What is the name of the song in the movie The Northman during the ritual scene? I wouldn't know. I didn't watch The Northman. Let's see if I can find it, though. So apparently it is called Hakkerskaldir. And it's by Helion. And it's based off of an old poem, apparently. So it's Hirmen Erother Era Mela Osmin Garba Nasu, like that. Eluvid King. Alright, my love, why don't you pick a song for us for the evening? Huh? Oh, that's right, that's right. The Last Goodbye, yes? So, the lady, chastised me greatly. I was reprimanded. I had to dig in the salt mines for 2 days because she wanted me to sing Pippin's song. But she said not Pippin's song, the song that was sung by Pippin's actor, Billy Boyd, and that was The Last Goodbye, and I sang the other one. Nobody! Hello, good to see you. With or without a pickaxe? Without a pickaxe. I had to do it with a toothpick. She sent me to the salt mines with a toothpick. and she only forgave me as much as I brought back. So I worked very hard, and I brought back 300 pounds of salt with my toothpick after 2 days. I'm not going to lose my lady's love. I'll bloody my fingers before that happens. Okay, so we'll do this one then. We'll do the last goodbye since I didn't get this one the last time. I haven't done this one in forever, but we'll see what happens. That seems unnecessary. She was salty enough for the both of you. No, the lady is quite sweet. She's salty to other folk, not me though. I'm very fortunate. I've never been on the salty end of the lady's affections. She's always held me in high enough regard to be sweet to me. Alright, we're gonna mute our background music here. Happy wife, happy life. Well, we live under the pretense of happy union, and just stop there. When she keeps me happy and I keep her happy, the union is happy. There's a fun song to learn, the Dragonborn song from Skyrim. The Dragonborn song is a classic. I don't know that there's much to learn from it. Or is that savory? I don't know. It would be... Salty needs to exist for sweet to matter at all. That's true. That's true. No, salty, you're right the first time. It's salty, not savory. Savory is a different part of the taste buds. Alright, we're gonna sing the last goodbye, and keep in mind, again, friends, remember, we don't sing because we sing well, we sing to enjoy ourselves. So join me in the last goodbye as I send you all off back out into the world at the end of Storytime tonight. Or to see how well I can do this one, because he sings very high and I can't go that high. So let's see. I saw the light fade from the sky. On the wind I heard a sigh. As the snowflakes cover my fallen brothers, I will say this last goodbye. Night is now falling, so ends this day. The road is now calling, and I must away. Over hill and under tree, through lands where never light is shone, by silver streams that run down to the sea. Under cloud, beneath the stars, over snow on winter's morn, I turn at last to paths that lead home. And though where the road then takes me, I cannot tell. We came all this way, but now comes the day to bid you farewell. Many places I have been, many sorrows I have seen, but I don't regret, nor will I forget all who took that road with me. Night is now falling, so ends this day. The road is now calling, and I must away. Over hill and under tree, through lands where never light has shone, by silver streams that run down to the sea. To these memories I will hold, with your blessing I will go, to turn at last to paths that lead home. And though where the road then takes me, I cannot tell. We came all this way, but now comes the day to bid you farewell. I bid you all a very fond farewell. I was a bit pitchy. I need to practice that one because it is like that one's actually been requested a lot, and I don't do it often because Billy Boyd sings so high, and my register is so low that it's hard for me to do these. And when I try to go high, I sound terrible. You got it. That was good. Well, thank you, Ghost. I appreciate you, my friend. All right, friends, this is where we are going to end for the night. If you're over on the Twitch portal, we will, of course, be raiding out to share the love. But for everyone else, sadly, this is the end. Oh, my love, can you do me a favor? Can you bring me one of your putty tats? Maddie cashed in a kitty cat. I think Milo is sleeping over there. So you can grab him and bring him over. Yeah. I know, I nearly forgot Matty. I nearly forgot him. Pass him over this way. Alright, bud. Time to work. Time to work, I know. I know. So oppressed. So sad. Well, there you go. There's Milo. Look how sleepy he is. He's falling back asleep. I know. I know. So sad at how hard you have to work. Your life is so terrible. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Milo. He's the second rescue amongst the kitty cats. And third rescue amongst the beasts of the tavern. He's so tired. He's just fallen asleep on my hand. Yeah. You're not supposed to be sleeping anyways. It's not bedtime yet. It's not bedtime yet. Oh, I know. He's so upset. He's like, I want to go back to mom. He's like, take me back, mom. I just want to go sleep. But yeah, he's a full-blood Bengal, and he's a unit. Look at how big his paws are. Look how big those paws are. He's a big old tiger. Look at him. Okay, all right. Go back to mom. Go back to mom. Thank you, Bear, and thank you to all of the barkeeps and all of the regulars and all of the new folks. I appreciate you all for coming in. To everyone who tipped the tavern keeper, thank you all very much. I appreciate you for it. And to everyone, he is huge. He's like this. He's like this long. He's crazy big.
He's solid.
He's also very solid. He's big and he's also solid.
Like he's not like fat or anything. He's just solid.
But he is a big cat. He's so long.
He's long.
He's almost twice as big as Boo now. Yeah, he's gonna, and he's still got another couple months to grow. I hope he doesn't get like any sort of big growth spurt at the end of his growth period there. But he probably weighs double what Boo probably weighs, like 2.5 pounds, and Milo probably weighs double that. He probably weighs 5 to 7 pounds, somewhere in there. Rock on, Jesus, my brother. Hope all is well. All is well. Coming in right at the end, my friend, but it's good to see you. I'm glad you dropped by. Always a pleasure to tend bar for you, Kesson. It's always a privilege to have you do so, Bear. I appreciate you, my friend. All right, friends and companions, this is it for the night. If you haven't, we have a brand new lore video in our Oak and Iron saga, talking about the history of the Celts, over on the YouTube portal if you are interested. So go and give it a look. It's going to be a whole series. There's probably going to be about 9 to 10 videos in the series between folklore and history. But that is all I have for you for tonight, my friends. Thank you all for the love and support. Thank you for coming out and spending your evening with us here in the tavern. But sadly, we must part. And while parting is such sweet sorrow, I want you all to remember that we will gather here again the next time that you all seek a story. Question, do you know much about Donegal? Off the top of my head, I know a good deal about Donegal. Probably not a huge amount, but some. But you can send me a message, Rockhound, and I'll happily answer any questions that you've got. All right, my friends, we must part. And while parting is such sweet sorrow, we will gather here again the next time that you all see a story. Good night, Clifford, rest well. So, until then, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, and I will see you next time. Good night.
Across the foam where the gray sea dies, I see the gold in your mortal eyes. Leave the iron machine, leave the rust, leave the men who turn to dust.
I see the light, I see the shore, but my heart is tied to the threshing floor. How can I ride where the shadows go when the wind of home is all I know?
Is calling.
Beyond the mist where the sea is new,
Leave the world of the gray and the falling. Ashin, Harun, I am calling you. 10,000 winters in a single breath. The land of youth, the end of death. Time is a cage, time is a lie. Come to the land where we never die.
I took the saddle, I left the clay, but the ghost of home wouldn't fade away. 300 years passed like a sigh, while I watched the golden birds fly by.
Ashin, my love, stay on the horse.
I must see the hills, I must find my source.
If you touch the ground, the years will strike.
The world is changed, it is nothing alike. I touch the ground and the ground turned gray. My brothers are bones, they have blown away. My skin is a shroud, my heart is lead. I wake among the ancient dead.
We are the pulse, we